All right, viewers, those are the headlines, and our big focus this hour is on the Middle East. We're now learning that the Israeli military has released a statement that has stated that the initial inquiry into its strike on the Nasser Hospital in Gaza found that troops had identified a camera that was allegedly positioned by Hamas in the area, which was reportedly used to observe Israeli forces. Now, this comes after the Israeli forces had struck the Nasser Hospital, which killed at least 20 people, including 5 journalists working for the Reuters, the Associated Press, Al Jazeera, and other media outlets. Hamas has slammed Israel and called the accusation as baseless. Now, according to the group, the allegation lacks any evidence and is aimed at evading, quote, legal and moral responsibility for Israel's actions, unquote. Meanwhile, the UN Human Rights Office has condemned the attack and emphasized the need for a thorough and independent investigation. The spokesperson has also noted that at least 247 Palestinian journalists have been killed in Gaza since October 7, 2023. Let's in fact listen in to what the UN spokesperson has had to say.
This is a shock, and this is unacceptable. We know that the Israeli army has announced that there will be an inquiry. This incident and the killing of all civilians, including journalists, must be thoroughly and independently investigated, and justice must follow.
Well, all of this comes as the U.S. State Department maintains that Secretary of State Marco Rubio will meet Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar in Washington. Moreover, as per U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, U.S. President Donald Trump will chair a meeting on Gaza at the White House later today. Meanwhile, joining us on the broadcast is Yossi Cooper-Wasser. He's an Israeli intelligence and security expert joining us from Tel Aviv. Thank you so much for taking our time speaking to us today on NewsX World. There have been these tragic reports that have been coming in from Gaza with regards to the death of the journalists. Now, the IDF has released a preliminary report as far as its probe into this particular strike is concerned. We do know that there are a lot of tunnels that Hamas has dug in Gaza that has been used by the terrorists in order to wage war against Israeli civilians. Meanwhile, the world now, the UN body as well, has come out against Israel. How would Israel now justify what has taken place?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Well, let's put the record straight. This Nasser Hospital has been used just recently as the headquarters of the Hamas in the southern part of Gaza. That's exactly the place where we killed the commander of Hamas, Mohammed Sinwar, and his entire command structure. That took place like 2 months ago, something like that. And so that's what the Nasser so-called hospital is used for. And this specific case, what happened was that there was a camera in the hospital that was used, according to the troops on the ground, in order to spot them and to prepare attacks against them. And they were trying to take care of this camera with less lethal weapons like RPVs and things like that, but they failed to do that. And that's why they decided to use a tank shell. That question is investigated in Israel, who authorized it and why did they authorize it and so on and so forth. But this was the case. On top of that, you mentioned the journalists that were killed, and this is a mishap, as the Prime Minister said, but amongst the people killed were also 6 terrorists, including one that took part in the 7th of October attack. And the fact that you find the 6 terrorists in this so-called hospital is something that has to raise an eyebrow. So I think that we should have to wait until the investigation comes to an end, and we'll find out what exactly happened and why, who authorized the shooting of a missile, of a tank shell towards this target, and what they're thinking and why they consider that to be a worthwhile attack.
All right, so taking a look at the larger picture, there's also very crucial meetings slated to take place between U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar. What do you expect will be on the cards in this meeting?
Well, I think the Americans want us to finish the job as soon as possible. But we have to get some more time in order to make it possible for us to remove Hamas from power by force, or to reach an agreement with Hamas that is going to include the release of all the hostages and the removal of Hamas from power in Gaza. These are two elements that we cannot compromise on. And the fact that we need more time is the time is necessary for us to be able to evacuate the population of Gaza from the city, so that we should be able to operate militarily there without risking the population. We have prepared a specific area for the population of Gaza to move to, south of Gaza City. And we hope that they will move there. They've already started moving there from some of the neighborhoods of Gaza City where we already operate. And it's a question of timetable. I think we have the full understanding of the American administration to the need to move forward with the military move, hoping that this is going to convince Hamas to release the hostages and remove and lose power and disarm themselves before we have to actually take over the entire Gaza City. But we are prepared also for that eventuality.
All right, sir, stay on with us as we track more updates from the Middle East. We're now learning that an Israeli drone